Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Tokan. I'm a resident here at Sonoma Mountain Zen Center for the last couple of years. I've been a member Sonoma or affiliated with Sonoma Mountain Zen Center for maybe about 35 years. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm the Shuso for this Ango period. Ango is a retreat period that's practiced throughout the Buddhist world in all the traditions, pretty much, as far as I know. Ango Shuso, which is a head student position, leading the Ango. And as part of the Shuso's position, we get to select a theme to carry through our practice through the month of Ango. And the theme that I selected, I'm going to go ahead and read it off so we're all starting off in the same spirit. The place of practice. In the time of the Buddha, a man was walking deep in the mountains in search of a place where he could discipline himself to understand his spirit. While searching, he chanced upon one of Buddha's disciples. "Sir, from where do you come?" he asked. The disciple answered directly, "I've come from my place of practice." Thinking that this man knew of the very place for which he had been searching, he asked the disciple, "Sir, I am looking for that same place. Please take me there." The disciple answered, "The place of practice lies in the pure and honest spirit, where there is no false vanity." Startled, the man saw that the place of practice and discipline is not only seen with the eyes. The place of practice is the spirit. The spirit searches to enlighten itself. It does not matter whether it is a room where one practices tea or meditates. Any place that is peaceful is a place where you can find your own spirit. That comes from the book Tea Life, Tea Mind by Soshitsu Sen, the 15th Grand Master of Urasenki Tea, not a particularly noted Zen master. But when I read that, and I decided to pick it, it reminded me of a younger self, some 35 or so years ago, when I first came across this Zen center. I wasn't at the time. I wasn't particularly looking for Zen or anything Buddhist. But I was looking for something. I was seeking something. Something wasn't quite adding up in myself, my younger self there. And so I was wandering around the West Coast, up and down and around Southwest as well, looking for something. And when I came across here, I was just planning to stay for a few days, visit and move on. But I ended up actually never leaving, or at least not leaving in a certain way. I was here at that time for maybe about 5 years, and then I chanced to meet my wife, and we ended up getting married here, and then raising a family nearby. And so we've been here for the last 28 some odd years. But what caused me to pause my life and stop here for a while was really meeting a disciple of the Buddha in my teacher, Kwang Roshi. I'm not sure exactly what drew me to him at first, but there was some recognition that this was a person that I could settle in with, at least for a while. And over the years that he's helped me turn that need to search for something into a real desire to want to share whatever I may have to offer this precious world. So that's kind of where I am today and how I got here. I'd like to elaborate a little bit on Ango and what it is in our tradition. In Roshi's book, Mind Sky, he has a section on Ango, and I'd just like to read from that. The chapter is called "Sitting in the Dark," again from his book, Mind Sky. So twice a year at Genjoji, we have a 30-day intensive practice period called Ango, which means peaceful dwelling. This tradition dates to Buddha's time when he and his followers would retreat from their travels and practice during the monsoon season. Traditional Ango periods in Japanese monasteries last for 100 days, but ours are only a month long. During Ango, there are longer periods of zazen, beginning very early in the morning, sitting in the dark. The candle on the zendo altar is the only light. This allows us, in fact, it obliges us to look inward, making zazen before sunrise a moving experience. Our thinking minds are created in two ways. We look either in or out. If we are always looking out, we start chasing ideas and projections from the moment we get up in the morning. Thoughts start accumulating. If we go out doing that, we may eventually create a small life filled with anxiety and fear. Meditation practice is basically a matter of looking inward, allowing all those thoughts to become one. And little by little, as we sit in the zendo, the darkness becomes light. Eventually the sun shines through the door, casting light on the dark redwood walls, the glowing hardwood floor, revealing a beautiful color of warmth. During Ango, we take 3 small meals a day together. Since we eat in silence, we begin actually to taste the food and enjoy it for what it is and for what it brings forth in ourselves. These meals are served in the zendo in formal oryoki style, although actually right now since COVID, we're not doing oryoki directly here in the zendo as much. But we still do our formal oryoki meals, and they're conducted in the Sangha house. So these meals are served in the Sangha house now in a formal oryoki style, from which the Japanese tea ceremony originated. Sometimes the tenzo, which is the head cook, may serve lasagna, and though we might prefer to have a big plate and forks and knives, our lasagna serving is limited to 1 small black lacquer bowl. Oryoki means just the right amount. Eating an oryoki means that we receive just the right amount of food. In every activity during Ango, we need to be aware of the right amount. Perhaps we can carry only 1 log of firewood, for example, during our work practice, while the next person manages to carry 3, and someone else even more. But each of us need to understand our own right amounts. This isn't a matter of better or worse as the conditioned mind asserts. In Zen terms, everything in the zendo has equal value, or toji, which translates as impartiality, actually. This is discriminating awareness, prajna awareness. Prajna awareness means simply being fully 100% present and open to receive. This doesn't take years of training. Prajna awareness is in everything we do and wherever we are. So the Buddhist spirit, for me, is in actually just making a sincere effort to do your best, without attachment as to your abilities or the result of your efforts. And then also to be able to let go of things not meant for you, but letting go graciously and without indifference. And if you're serving an oryoki meal, you'll kneel, you pour, you serve, and you bow. You give. The person before you receives an intimate gift. You'll find the ritual very moving, whether you're serving or receiving. It is so moving it may bring tears to your eyes. And you see clearly that we are all the same Buddhas and sentient beings. Discrimination has no relevance. When the head server carries the Buddha offering to the altar before a formal oryoki meal, we are venerating Buddha. So he is served first. When the Ino says, please pause at the end of the meal, we may still be cleaning our oryoki bowls, but being aware of the server entering the zendo, we stop at that moment to restore our Buddha nature. So this stopping and pausing to recognize our Buddha nature is a very integral part of of our practice here at the Zen Center. It's something a lot of us in our working world and outside world don't take the opportunity to actually pause and reflect and be aware of what's actually going on at that moment in our lives, whether that's at work or at home, school, or at play even. But it's a wonderful practice to actually take a moment throughout the day, to pause and reflect on what you are actually doing at that moment. So being aware of the server entering the Sangha house, or Zendo, we stop at that moment to restore our Buddha nature. Not thinking, just sitting. That is practice. That's what we do. Put the bowl down and just sit there. That's all. Nothing extra. And Ango is led by a senior student called the Shuso, in this case. And at the end of this month-long retreat, there is a dramatic closing ceremony in which students are urged to challenge the Shuso by asking questions in Mondo, or Dharma combat. This is the opportunity for everyone to step forward in real debate. Each student has a different question and may continue to question the Shuso until satisfied with the reply. Mondo encounters can be utterly serious or wildly humorous. Anything goes, but there's always great depth of feeling. One literally becomes the question one asks. It may be called combat, but the Mondo invariably turns out to be a win-win situation since it occurs in a Dharma context. No one is concerned with who asks the best questions or receives the best answer, and everyone wins. Another aspect of that impartiality and equanimity. We all meet each other right where we are at that moment. So at the end, when the exchanges are over, it's as if the questions have been answered by Shuso and students together, each rising to the moment and engaging with each other, each ascending to the way of Dharma. The formal words the abbot says before and after the Mondo resemble a traditional address to Buddha's great assembly. He addresses everyone as dragons and elephants. In Asia, the dragon is a symbol of realization, holding the bright jewel within its jaws, and elephants, sturdy and steadfast, showing a deep constancy as they move majestically across the plains and forest. Just so, in Zen, we can realize ourselves in each activity by practicing steadfastly with constancy and awareness. Again, for your reference, that is a chapter out of Roshi's book, Mind Sky. The chapter being Sitting in the Dark, so if you want to follow up, you can go there. I will also be opening up our discussion, our talk today to questions, so feel free to hold on to your questions that you may have, and we'll make sure we make time for them a little bit later. And by the way, during the opening ceremony, I mentioned that during my talks here, during the question and answer period at the end here, I'm happy to answer not just questions related to whatever I may be talking about here today, which is really teacher-student relationship stuff. But anything really that comes up for you that you'd like to bring up, and we'll work with it together. But in particular, as part of Ango, I provided a reading list of 6 books in this case, that if you have the chance to, or if you've already filled out your commitment forms, the books are listed there on the commitment form, and you're free to pick and choose whatever you'd like to maybe use during our Ango from there. And again, that would be, this is a good opportunity then to offer those questions for all of us to work through. Now I'll read a little bit more from another book of Roshi's, No Beginning, No End, The Intimate Heart of Zen. All of these books, by the way, can be found in our library. They're also in our bookstore, I'm sure. Right, Carol? Yes. Uh, so the chapter is called Your Teacher is Found in Your Practice. When a student is a student of Zen, their practice should help them to forget that they are a Zen student altogether. This is like forgetting the self. When you forget the self, you become a free and ordinary person. As Zen has developed in the West, there have been many discussions on the subject of the relationship between teachers and students. Since the nature of the intimate bond between these two is so important in study and practice alike, it is crucial that these discussions continue so that relationships that are appropriate and right can be firmly established. Just before a teacher gives a Dharma talk, the community of practitioners known as the Sangha chant just what we did earlier, the opening, what is it, opening verse?
Sutra verse.
Sutra verse, okay. And it starts out as the Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is rarely met even in 100,000 million kalpas. Most of us are probably not familiar with what a kalpa is, but in case, here is a description. It's an immeasurable period of time, sometimes compared to an eon. And when we say these words, we are really evoking the almost unimaginable boundlessness of the Dharma. And yet, such boundlessness means nothing other than yourself. One of your teacher's most important jobs is not the most important one, if not the most important one, is to point you in the direction of your own true self so that you can see for yourself. In order for this to be possible, a special kind of intimate bond must be established between you as a student and the teacher. Your teacher must truly know your heart and mind, and likewise, you should know the teacher's heart and mind. And over time, that's really, what allowed me to settle here over all these years, is that intimate relationship that's rarely found in this world. And eventually you learn to have great confidence in the relationship more than even in yourself. And that comes through, a wonderful process of, mutual acceptance. The teacher accepts you, you accept the teacher. And there's just a circle of wonder involved with that growth. So this heart and mind that he's referring to is the same heart and mind of all things. In order to help us understand more about the student-teacher relationship, Suzuki Roshi used to tell us one of his favorite stories about Isan Zenji. I really like this story. So here we go. The sixth ancestor, let's see, because he's talking about a student of the sixth ancestor, actually, Isan Zenji. So Isan was resting one hot summer afternoon, just kind of dozing in his room, when one of his disciples, Kyozan, walked by and peeked inside. When he saw him, Isan said, "Oh, Kyozan, don't think that you'll bother me. Please come on in." Kyozan came in, and when he was settled in, Isan said, "I had a wonderful dream. Do you want to know what my dream was?" Without saying anything, Kyozan the disciple stood up and went out to get a pan of water and a face cloth. Then he came back in to Isan's room and offered it to his teacher. His teacher dipped the cloth in the cool water, wiping his face, and felt joyously refreshed. Just about this time, another disciple of Isan's came by, Kyogen. He walked by, looked in, and saw the two of them, and Isan says, "Come on in." "Oh yes," he says. "Please join us." Then When Kyogen was settled, he proceeds to ask the same question of him. "I just had a wonderful dream," Isan told him. "Do you want to know what it was?" And immediately, Kyogen, this other disciple, goes outside the room made some tea, brought it back in, then the three of them all drank tea together. And that's the story. Simple. But also, this is the exact life of Zen. It's very different from when we ask someone about their dreams, or when our friend asks if we had a dream and what kind of dream it was. If we are not familiar with the Dharma, we may tell a long story about our great dream, including all the details we can remember, and then begin to interpret and speculate about what it could possibly mean. Isn't that so? But each student, or in this case of this story, each disciple, awakens the present moment. This present moment is the dream. Our lives are not about another dream. If it is a hot day, we could use a cloth dipped in cool water, or on a hot day, perhaps you might boil someone a pot of hot tea. That is the meaning of relationship. It's a very good illustration of a deep student-teacher relationship. This story also means that the student is independent. The students weren't interested in the dream of their teacher. In fact, they didn't even think about it. What they did in the situation was a simple and natural response. When a student is a student of Zen, their practice should help them to forget that they are a Zen student. This is like forgetting the self. When you forget the self, you become a free and ordinary person. And so, on a hot summer day, you can bring someone a cool face cloth and serve some hot tea. That's our story here. And this is from Roshi's book, No Beginning, No End, The Intimate Heart of Zen. So before moving on to some questions, I'd like to read a little bit of my own. This was a very interesting process, actually, preparing for this talk. As Shuso, I'm scheduled to bring 5 talks to the Ango. And preparing for a talk like this takes quite a bit of effort, surprisingly. And I put quite a bit of effort into preparing for these talks. This is my second one. I've given one earlier. And I was pretty happy with myself, with my preparation, going into the last week or so before my talks. Having read a lot, written down a lot, just coming up with ideas. And I felt, I had enough stuff together to be able to come up with some kind of good topic, going down the final stretch of the week before I actually had to deliver a talk. Well, this is my second time, and it's pretty much gone like the first time, which was, you come down to the last couple of days and you still don't quite have anything enough to make a talk out of it. So then you scramble for the last few days to come up with something, sleepless nights, and here we are. But I managed to come up with a little something of my own that I'd like to share. All of our senses have a function, something that they do. Seeing, hearing, tasting, thinking, touching. All of our senses have a knowing, something beyond doing, an innate non-doing. The function of the heart is to pump blood, but the purpose of the heart is to know what it is to be alive. The function of the mind is to secrete thoughts, but the purpose of the mind is to know what it is to be alive. To be alive is to forget heart and mind and to be intimate with wonder. And to wonder is to embody this one precious life, this one precious world of ours with our whole heart and mind. Our awakening, our practice, is nothing to do with enlightenment or delusion, beauty, truth, or goodness. It is acceptance of things of this world as they are, nothing excluded, nothing extra. This is in Japanese known as Daien Kyochi, the great mirror mind, accepting and reflecting without adding anything or leaving any trace. Also impartiality, no discrimination. So I'd like to close my talk before opening to questions with a line here from a quote from Suzuki Roshi from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. In the Zazen posture, Your mind and body have great power to accept things as they are, whether agreeable or disagreeable. So I'd be happy to, if there's questions, I'd be happy to work with them. Is anybody reading the books? We have a few people reading books. And no questions about your wonderful reading opportunities there? Okay, well, that's wonderful. Yes, Craig?
Not from the reading, but from what you just wrote.
Okay.
Which is sort of the same thing. The origins of Dayan Koshi, and who of those are rooted with?
What do you mean rooted?
The origin.
Well, it's Japanese. I don't know. Dai is great. Mirror mind is what it's referring to. The idea that in our innate original nature is this mirror mind that doesn't have to, it merely reflects what is perceived in the world. It's not adding anything or trying to interpret anything. Doesn't leave a trace. It doesn't alter what's perceived, what's received. Not unlike a moon and a dewdrop. You know, the moon is reflected in a dewdrop. This is a pretty well-known, illustration. And it's in Zen we refer to the height of the moon as the depth of the dewdrop. And the dewdrop represents this mirror mind that does not inhibit the moon from being reflected. It offers this reflection in a true form, and but it reflects nothing other than a basic truth in reality. And this is what our mind is. This is what humans are capable of. This is what we are at our core when we allow ourselves to access a very pure, true state of ourselves, not caught up in the busyness of the world. And this is, our Ango, which refers to peaceful dwelling, is one wonderful opportunity to let go of all those attachments and, the baggage that we accumulate in our daily lives out and about. Not that we don't accumulate baggage here at the Zen Center, let me assure you. It's an endless source of practice everywhere you go. But the difference here at the Zen Center in amongst the Sangha is that we work together. We have the awareness that we're here for each other, to help each other get through things that we get stuck on, to see our blind spots, but in a very caring way, which is a bit different than what you encounter probably out in the real world, or outside world. This is as real as the outside world, by the way. Let me assure you. So yeah, that's thing.
Maybe there are some questions from online. I've got the sound is up if anyone wants to ask a question.
Okay. Yes, Anne.
What is the most challenging thing about practice for you, and what is the most joyful thing?
Well, the joy is continues to evolve. There can be a constant source of joy. Sharing this opportunity, today with each of you. As Shuso, I get to meet each of you individually in formal interviews. My relationship with Roshi, as it has evolved over these 35 years, is a constant source of inspiration, admiration, and tenderness that inspires me to do yet more and better. Greatest challenges, of course, the same as everybody here and my teacher. It's not the teacher, the student-teacher relationship. It's an important function of a teacher not to make it too easy for you. Not for you to get away with being your habitual self. And that's, not a comfortable process for the student either, to have to confront themselves and their weaknesses. But ultimately, it's these weaknesses or shortcomings that that I can say in my own sense, you know, I was probably seeking a remedy for those things. I knew something wasn't quite right. I didn't know exactly what. And part of that was the sense of inadequacy or disappointment with this or that or the other thing in my life. So when you have the opportunity to, again, turn that inadequacy into something meaningful and to share that, I don't know how much better that can get for a person. Thank you.